Welcome to the Stand on Your Investment podcast, presented by UC Hunting Properties and Expedition Land Management, where professionals from around the country will dive deep into land management strategies, investing in recreational real estate, and all things hunting.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Stand on Your Investment podcast. We have a special guest with us today, the infamous Slade Priest from Southern States, kind of King Tut down in that Louisiana, Mississippi area. Slade's the top producer at UC, top agent, soup to nuts. We're talking 80 million plus in business every year. So he's crushing it. Welcome, Slade.
Well, thank y'all for having us on, man. I'm excited to be on here. I've been watching the last couple of podcasts and excited to get up to speed on everybody. And we're going to be coming to see y'all soon, so excited to talk about that too.
Yep, we're gonna hit on that. Slade, I do want to take a second. I mean, I think the majority of our listeners are going to be familiar with who you are, but give us a 2, 3, 5 minute. I know when you get talking, you can talk. But just how did you get started? How long have you been in the game, and kind of where is your game?
Well, like a lot of us, I've always hunted and fished all growing up. Grew up in the South. It's kind of a religion down here. That's what we do. Grew up on a family place, and my family had a lot of hunting and timberland. My family is a timber background. My little brother's a 7th generation logger, so I've always been involved in land improvement, land management down here. Crop ground isn't hardly a thing. I can sell $100 million a year in property, and I may sell 1 or 2 places that actually have any tillable. Very, very rare for my little area, Southwest Mississippi. Anyway, got my real estate license after college. Was doing it semi part time with another company. Doing okay. I had an outfitting business, and then I also started my outdoor television show on the Sportsman Channel, Trained Assassin Television, for 7 years on the Sportsman Channel. And so through doing that, I was real estating, I was buying and selling property myself, I was outfitting, and I was doing the TV show. And I noticed that, hey, I'd get on the buggy Monday morning, and my clients would love the fact that, hey, Slade, I watched you shoot a big buck yesterday in Kansas. Or, hey, Slade, I watched you hunt this turkey yesterday down the road from your house. And I was like, oh, okay. People think this is cool. Well, I started noticing how good it did for my business, and I was too young and dumb to capitalize on it then. Well, now that I've gotten a little bit older, we've done a little bit of stuff with some other companies, and then last year, about this time, we launched Hunting Land Man TV, and that's kind of what I call myself, the Hunting Land Man. I did not give myself that name. That was everybody on the TV show started calling it that.
It's fitting.
Name, it's like a superhero. I got my kids trained now. Asa knows that you got Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, Hunting Land Man, Iron Man, all in the same topic. So she's got that covered.
Attaboy.
Anyway, so I launched Hunting Land Man TV to basically, it's a real estate / hunting show. Now, every show has some hunting on it because that's my passion. That's what we like to do. But like the newest episode we're coming out with this week is a tract of land I own. We cut timber. We're using some government programs. We put ponds in. We killed a couple turkeys out there. We're going to do a couple different episodes on that farm. And what I say all the time is, look, I'm not playing land realtor. This is what I do. Whenever I was waiting on y'all to get on the call, I was checking my trail cameras. Like, so many people in our business have a deer they killed 3 years ago or post a picture when they go hunting once or twice. Look, that ain't me. I live and breathe this stuff. I can go to work at a bank tomorrow, still what I'm going to do all day, every day. It's what my family does. It's what I like to do. If I won $100 million in the lottery tomorrow, I would just do a whole lot more of it. That's me.
No,
but
it's very apparent, Slade, that it's your lifestyle, not just your career.
I mean, if y'all are watching, look, that's a 170 from Iowa. There's a 160. There's a 150. I'm just saying. I don't have Kurt's collection up here, but I got some decent ones for down here. But but it's been real good. We had a blessed year the last couple of years in real estate, and man, now I'm not the type at all to say, all right, we got number one last year. Sit back, enjoy the ride. I'm like, all right, we did 87 million last year. The goal is 125 million this year. How can we do that? And it's systems and processes and trying to figure out what's the best way to leverage our marketing through things like this. And it's just, I don't know, it's fun. It's my favorite thing to do. I get up before daylight every morning and work out, and that's when my brain goes to work. All right, how are we going to take over the world today?
Right. No, I love it. I love it. So, Slade, I think the one thing people are curious about is clearly running at that level. There's tricks to the trade, and I don't want to steal all your secret sauce or give away the secret, but what does your team look like? I mean, clearly one person can't possibly do 87 million without a tremendous amount of support. Just paint that picture. You know what I mean? Obviously, you're the front man, but like, what does your support system look like? How do you keep that together?
Well, I do have an amazing team. It starts off with Southern States Realty. And look, I will give everybody the secret sauce because guess what? People won't do it. You can tell them whatever you want to. People won't do it because it's hard work and the world don't work hard anymore. So anyway, it starts with a good group at Southern States Realty. I doubt Scott will listen, but I did learn a lot from Scott Lindsay. And then I modify it. That's the only reason why me and Scott fight more than everybody else because I know what's about to come out of his mouth and I know how to call him out on it. But I was with him all day yesterday. But and then so I got a good support system at home. My wife Lori works for me. She works for me, sends out a lot of my emails, kind of a 10,000-foot overview. Hey, make sure this gets done, that sort of thing. My main assistant is cameraman Caleb, which is now real estate man Caleb, and he helps me with showings. Like today, he's loading up a new listing we got this week, pictures and video and stuff like that. And basically, what I try to do all day, every day, is only do things that only I can do. If that's put together a deal or talk to $1 million client and figure out exactly what he wants or fix a problem, um, try to only do things I can do. Now, I also have Hunter, my new full-time producer of the show. So the way the show works, we try to put out 2 episodes a month. They go out on Waypoint, then they go on YouTube. It's all about selling more land, and it's not about looking cool on TV. It's really all about selling more land and exposure. Hunter also does all my pictures and videos from a listing standpoint. So we have a process. If you call me and say, all right, I got this 100 acres or 1,000 acres, doesn't matter. I want to sell right down the road. All right, me and the team go out there. Before we leave, we figure out the maps. Any issues we need to ask, we figure all that out on the front end. We get our listing paperwork done. We go high-end pictures and videos. Every listing, nobody takes better in pictures and videos than us because if you want to ask more for your commissions, if you want to be worth more, not ask more, if you want to be worth more, if you want to sell more property than anybody else, you got to set yourself above, and that's what we do. And I know that's what all United Country does and kind of commands us to do. So we don't put 3 to 5 pictures on the MLS and move on. Very rarely do we not max out. Like if a website can put 50 pictures, and very rarely do we not put 50 and wishing we could put more. Now, some listings just don't have that many features or it's a small property or something like that. But every listing gets a high-end picture, high-end video, something I encourage people to do. I'm always in the video, always, because I will sell that property and that video will carry on. And that property may cannot be sold again, but I'm selling myself every time I sell one. So I'm always on there. Plus, one thing that we do, and my team, I've encouraged them with all our marketing putting forward is here's the deal. Down here, for an agent standpoint, nobody has bought and sold personally more property than me. I buy and sell a lot down here. I buy and sell a lot in Missouri personally. My family has. Improved property, managed big deer and farms like that. Nobody in my space has done that, what I've done. And if I'm not doing a good job of telling that story, or any agent out there, if they're not doing a good job of telling their story while they're the authority in that space, well, then don't be mad when somebody else is taking your clients because you're not telling your own story. And it's not tooting your own horn. I sincerely believe that I'm my client's best option, and I just have to show them that. So I don't have to toot my own horn. They're seeing it every day. And so we have a process every time we go do a listing about this is the quality we're going to get. Like I want to put out this 157, this listing we got this week. I want to put it out on Friday, which is tomorrow. All right, our emails go out. So the first thing we do, we put it on the website and then we hit go. We try to control both sides of every deal. In fact, I do 67% of both sides of every deal. Now, how do we do that?
Slade, I guess I want to jump in there. I'm not trying to slow you down because I love where this is going, but that is a hell of a statistic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I'm not wrong, and sorry, Josh, I should have introduced you. We got Josh Gens, our Iowa broker, sitting in with us today in place of Travis Homley because Trav couldn't get logged on and sounds like he's having a rough day. But Josh, I know you're a numbers guy. You're super analytical. At 67%, is that not like double the national average on one-sided versus two-sided real estate deal?
Yeah, that's absolutely crushing it. But that's a fantastic job, Slade. And I think where you were going with that is because you're able to market and control the process is why you're able to get both sides. And looking at being able to bring a buyer and a seller together, we call it matchmaking. People, because you're the authority, they want to be on either side of the deal with you, right? So I think that statistic for you and your guys' group down there is likely to continue to grow just as you guys keep crushing it.
That's it. We, what I tell people is, in some states you can't be a dual agent. And, what I tell people is, look, if you're a good person, there's no people say, I don't want somebody else representing both sides. If you're a good person and you're doing what you say you're going to do and you're a man of your word, it doesn't matter. What I tell people is if I can control both sides, I'm not going to fumble. Nobody's going to fumble the ball.
Right.
Like nobody's
right.
going to. I teach, so everybody that's my assistants, they're also, I'm mentoring them. One day they probably won't work for me. And so something I tell them is, look, you got to control the narrative from the first phone call. So me, I'm not really emotional about a particular piece of land. The clients, buyer and seller, usually are because they have some kind of connection to it. It's a family property. They put their heart or their sweat, blood, and tears into the money to buy it, or to money that they're going to buy the future for them with. And I said, look, I can remove that emotion. So if I can control that narrative from beginning to end and represent both sides, we're going to get it done because I'm going to know what to say, when to say it, and make sure the goals get accomplished of getting the deal done and everybody wins, and nobody lets emotions get a hold of them and hang up the phone and we don't get a deal done.
Right, right. No, I thought it was worth mentioning that because I think at closing in on 70% of your deals, you're double siding. I mean that's insane. I mean that's awesome.
Where I was going a second ago, so what we do, we get all our pictures, all our video, we get all our marketing, social media, everything sitting on go. It's like a bull ready to jump out of pen. When we hit go on the first website now, Josh, y'all probably know this. Most agents in an area, if clients wanting to be in a county or a certain area, that buyer or seller or group of people are usually in 10 agents' phones. Like you can't think that buyer has only ever called you. You
Right.
know, he's in somebody else's phone. So if that other agent gets on Monday morning, he's drinking his coffee like we are now, and looks and says, "Oh, Slade listed a new 157 acres. Billy's been looking for something like that. Let me shoot that over him." Well, guess what happens when he shoots it over? Slade's already sent it to Billy, and Billy said, "Sorry, Slade's already talked to me about it." Because when we hit go, so we usually hit go about this time in the morning, and before 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, when emails are more likely to be opened, we track all this stuff. We hit go. All the pictures, all the video goes out to my client database, which is, I think, about 2,200 people strong. And these are people that bought and sold land from me. If you've ever sent me an email on, UCHuntProperties.com or LandWatch or anything like that, you're in my database. And so it's got all the pictures. It's got map right links, or I guess land ID, what it's called now. It's got anything that you can know about the property. It's in there. And so It doesn't always work out, but a lot of times in these good counties, like where I live, boom, the phone starts ringing and the emails start coming back immediately. And what that does is lets us get it to those clients before any other agent gets there. And that's not manipulative. That's just being on top of your game.
Yep. No, I love it. I love this strategy. The one thing too, I was going to shift gears a little, Slade, and you touched on this already, but the fact that you're doing a lot of land transactions and your family, I guess, just not you personally, but I want to ask you about your strategy for multi-state investing, because clearly you make a living, selling land, but you're also you have passive income in the fact that you're a land investor yourself. Um,
Correct.
what's your is there a model for that, Slade? I mean, I know you're tore up with hunting, which is why you're in Missouri. But on the flip side, I don't think you're just blindly buying land. Is there a formula you use for your investment side?
Well, man, I had a unique education in this side of it. I started buying. I bought 12 acres and a house trailer close to my house the year I got out of college, with outfitting money. Um, you still there, Kurt?
Yeah. Yep.
I lost y'all on video, but um, the I started buying and selling land because my both of my grandpas and my dad and mom, they've always bought and sold real estate. Now, none of them ever been a real estate agent, but they've always bought and sold real estate. So this is normal procedure for me. Um, find something that somebody doesn't see the value in or has under marketed, buy it and sell it. Now, what I did, I bought and sold 12 acres, and I sold about 10 tracts to buy the tract where my house is now. Bought it when I was pretty young, this 130 acres in a really high-priced neighborhood, but I bought it with my brain and the bank and leveraging the 1031 process over years and years to buy the place where now my house sits. And that was the plan from year one. My goal was to have my house and my place paid for by the time I was 40, and I did it at 36. So then it was a weird time, and I was like, okay, now what? And I try to educate myself on, okay, apartments, am I going residential? What am I going to start using, with this money? Well, the opportunity came up for a real good deal in northern Missouri, and it was an area that I had hunted before. I follow every land agent because a lot of them I walked in their office when I was younger and asked for like Fred Bennett. I walked in him and Tony's office probably 15 years ago and said, "Hey, do y'all know anybody who's got any land for lease?" I think before I started working in United Country, and so I knew all those agents. I followed all those agents, got familiar with the market. My dad actually started buying up there first, and every deal came across my desk not as an agent, but as a, "Hey, what do you think?" And so I got familiar, started buying and selling right before COVID. And our plan was to buy and sell these farms over 2 and 3 years, improve them, deer history, maybe cut some timber, depending on what the farm needed. And man, through COVID, we didn't have to. We were hitting our goals in a couple of months. And I think that's going to slow down now. I don't think we can sustain that market. I think that we're going to go back to the plan of keeping a farm for a couple of years, getting it right, enjoying the process, man. I mean, yeah, we're making good money doing that, but really enjoying the process. Now, something that I always say, if your land agent is a successful land agent and he's not buying and selling land himself, first of all, he's not learning all this stuff and he's not putting his money where his mouth is. Look, I don't have the only money I have in the stock market is money because I can save taxes by doing a self-directed IRA. Besides that, my money's in dirt, man, because I believe in it. And how can I ask you, Mr. Investor, Mr. Land Purchaser, to invest your $1 million if I'm not gonna put my $1 million in it? I mean, I'm gonna live and breathe what I preach, and man, that's not common, or at least in my area. The guys that live and breathe hunting, the guys that are really investing in land, I say it all the time. They are playing land realtor, and we're coming to get you.
I like it. On that note, Slade, so obviously I'm just going to make an assumption. Clearly, you own in Mississippi. Do you have any land in Louisiana personally?
I do, but it's not nothing that I buy and sell. I've got some family land down. I kill a 140-inch deer on it with my bow, so it's a pretty good spot down there in not north of Baton Rouge, not too far from Tiger Stadium. Go Tigers!
Oh boy.
Oh no.
Oh
That
boy.
went sideways quick.
Go there. He had to go there. I wish I had the date memorized of the catch, but we'll talk about that later, Slade. But I'm sure you remember that blowing crush that the Hawkeyes delivered.
I do remember a date in 2019 when Joe Burrow took over the world and won the national championship. I'm the only. The football is really all I'm worried about.
It's a good thing you guys don't have a wrestling team. But anyway,
That's right.
Slade, we're stoked to have you up for the UC Hunting Properties first annual training event that we're going to host here in Iowa in July. I'm going to mention it. Slade is going to basically be a keynote speaker, and I say that loosely because this isn't going to be a highly formal event. The goal is that it's all about team building and networking and making connections and obviously learning something along the way. So anyone that's listening that's on the fence on coming up and joining us for that event, Slade will be there, and you can pick his brain as much as you want over the course of those 3 days. No pressure, Slade.
It's going to be fun. And what I tell people is on any of this stuff, if you don't think you can learn, like, oh, I know everything about what they're going to teach or whatever, you're backing up. There's always stuff. I remember one of the first times I met Kurt, he was telling me about how, and I'm going to mess this up, but anyway, to some effect of, hey, if we don't want deer bedding in this corn, we're going to plant it this tight, and if we want deer bedding in this corn, we're going to plant this loose. And I was like, wow. I thought corn was just planted, I didn't with that in mind. Speaking of, did y'all see that new corn that Don Higgins was talking about the other day?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if it's BS, but I'm interested.
no, it's not BS. But and I don't want to make this controversial because opinions are, well, everyone knows what opinions are.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I would argue any land manager that has a focus on whitetails clearly understands the difference between like a non-GMO corn or a conventional corn to a double stack to a triple stack and so on, right? So through the years, as things have evolved and we're attempting to feed America or the world for that matter, corn's evolved, and the reason it's evolved is to ward off disease and to allow us as producers to use herbicides to control weeds, and obviously the whole root of the whole thing is to bump yields, right? Get yields higher, sell more corn, produce more corn. Now, all of that said, every time a trait's introduced in corn, it changes things. And we don't know what we don't know. But I've heard, I had old boys tell me, and this is years ago, but when Roundup really hit the scene in the early 90s, they said it was almost like they had to retrain feedlot cattle to eat the grain.
Wow.
So if you really stop and think about that, you know what I mean? Like, it's something that they had never had, and it was enough different, inherently different. It's still corn, right? But it's genetically modified corn for whatever reason. So I bring that up because cattle and deer, similar, very similar on how their bodies work, how they digest, so on. So I'm not ripping, like I said, I don't want to make this controversial, but what Don Higgins is doing with his, I think it's called NutriCrave or something, that's basically the most simplistic corn you could have. Now, I'm not saying he didn't go out and pick one or study one and figure out that it's got, higher protein or whatever. But the reality is corn in general is more of an attractant than it is.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't feed deer. That's why protein pellets exist, because corn doesn't have enough of it. It's the same reason beans arguably are better. More protein, it's actually better for the animal. But I'm not, again, I don't want to say NutriCrave's a joke, but I personally would argue you could take any non-GMO corn, and if you're running it side by side with a double stack or a triple stack corn that's all traded up, 1,000,000% the deer are going to prefer it. That's just a fact.
And we've done it.
Yeah, I mean,
we've done like organic versus single, double, triple stack in the field.
They'll walk by them to get to it.
Yeah, they will start from organic and work their way up the stacks. Because organic, anymore a triple stack, if you drive a tractor down a row, or your truck actually, down a row of a triple stack corn, that stalk is so tough,
rigid,
that you are going to pop your tire.
or could.
Well, I have.
So I bring this up because I feel like there is no magic in. Let's be honest. Most of it boils down to marketing, right? And Don Higgins, kudos to him. He's a master in it. He's blending soybeans and saying there's magic. I'd argue there's not. He's taking multiple varieties. He's looking at the oil content and he's loading them in a bag. Ingenious from a hunting perspective. I give him that. I think this is the same type of thing with corn, and there's no doubt in my mind it's good stuff. It's going to grow. I'm kind of the opposite, and we're spoiled. We're here in Iowa. The most of our land management works in the Midwest. We have such high deer densities on most of the farms we're handling, Slade. I would never only run like a conventional corn similar to what Don's doing, because it would never make it. Like in a food plot setting where you only have whatever, half an acre to 3 acres, if we did that here, you wouldn't have corn by the time you want corn. So in some cases with some clients, shit, we purposely run the most traded corn, a double or a triple stack corn, purposely because we don't want it to be much different than the neighbors or the farmer next door. What we do know is when the dust all settles, if we can grow 240 bushel corn, when the neighbors comes out, or the neighbors comes out, and you got a 3 acre tract with that much food in it, come late season, you got the honey hole. And I don't care what brand it is, I don't care what maturity is, you're gonna have food. So that's just my 2 cents, and like I said, take it for what it's worth.
So you know, you know, just like Kurt said, Kurt's living and breathing this stuff. And whenever I asked Kurt, he was telling me all about this stuff. Getting back to what I was saying is, you can always learn how to be a good. And look, we take stuff we learn in the Midwest and we apply it down here, and vice versa. It's just it's a different ball game, and I encourage anybody out there listening or anybody who's on the fence about joining United Country. Hey man, come up to this thing and let's hash it out. It's gonna be a bunch of good people. We're gonna have a good time, and we're gonna definitely learn something.
Yeah, we're super excited about it. Excited to have you and your crew up, Slade. And these are the kind of conversations we'll get in, right? Because that's funny that you remember, a conversation about, the configuration we're going to use when we do a food plot, Slade. Like that stuff, Chris and I don't even think about it anymore because it's just inherent. But there's a very distinct difference between running high population. We're putting food plots in at like 40,000 plants an acre. I mean, it's thick. But the difference is, and just so people understand what you were referring to, is we're doing it on narrow rows. We're doing it. We have a custom planter that allows us to plant 15-inch rows.
Was that posted the other day? That picture of that planter?
Yeah. Yep. That little bugger is the one, and so we can hammer in 5-6 acres in a couple hours because we got the right equipment. But the right equipment was more because we wanted to change the configuration. Every farmer in existence, for the most part, is on 30-inch rows, if not wider, with their corn. Some of the more progressive guys have moved to 20s, and there are some 15-inch guys. But the reality is everybody's watched a big buck literally disappear into a cornfield, and how do they do it? They always walk down the row. Always. Well, you put 15-inch corn in with that kind of population, they don't walk down the row anymore because they're banging into stuff. They don't like it. So I'm not saying November 7th you won't get one to blow through it chasing a hot doe. Of course they will. But by and large, just with the configuration, how we plant corn, we can literally funnel and manipulate their movement to how we want them to use that cornfield. So, I don't know. There's a XLM tech tip of the day. Think about your configuration.
But it just goes back to show, you like I said, you can always learn. Look, it's funny, like Mark Drury does the 13, and I always watch. I'm interested in Mark. He loves this stuff. It's the same stuff y'all do, and it's fun to watch. And they tell a good stories while I like watching. And I think about it all the time down here in the South. Love it or hate it. Look, we hunt over feed down here. If you don't like it, I don't care. It's up to your business. But anyway, I always said somebody needs to do a 13 with like feeders, because look, I can teach you some stuff and you're gonna be like, no way, there's no way. I promise you. Like,
Well, Slade, I'm watching. I think you did it on social media, but you were putting a soybean feed out specifically because you said the bears don't hammer it or they don't like it. You know.
two reasons. Well, I was using that as an example. I don't have bears here at my house. West of 61, and the other side of the county, we're starting to get them pretty good. Well, the roasted soybeans tear up a deer's stomach and they don't like it. Okay. The reason I'm putting the roasted soybeans in my spin feeders, right in that particular spot, it's 300 yards ahead of me right here. It's in the front yard. Well, I don't want to feed the deer corn because I want them, I'm trying to grow horns right now. Horns are about that big right now. But the spin feeder will still throw those roasted soybeans. So I'm getting super high protein, and and they're still getting used to my feeder and getting on a timer and things like that. But yeah, as far as the feeders, and man, there is so many tricks to, oh, if a deer's doing this, do this, and it's like you said, it's inherent to us. We've been doing it for years.
Right.
Look, I know how to kill one with his head eating corn. I've done it.
We do too. We just have to plant the corn first,
That's
Slade.
right. Right.
It's a little different approach, but guys, I know we're getting long-winded. Slade, number one, I want to thank you for taking some time and jumping on with us. I'm going to bring this thing full circle again. Everyone, Slade will be at the training. His team will be up there. We're looking forward to that. We're going to pick his brain a little. He's gonna be a speaker, I guess is how I'm going to say it, and definitely it'll be more town hall / conversational. So I don't want to make it sound like he's coming out in a suit and tie and standing at a podium, but we are looking forward to that, Slade, because we learn from you guys as much as you feel like you're learning from us. So we're stoked about that. One thing I do want to close with, Slade, because you didn't win the hunt and your buddy Peyton did. What do you got for fall hunting plans, Slade? What's on the agenda for the year?
Well, I'm hoping I have a state of Iowa's the DNR's website pulled up here in front of me. I got to put in for my Iowa tag today. I have 4 points, and I'm hoping to come hunting up there with y'all in Iowa. Of course, we're going to be hunting Mississippi, maybe Louisiana, but mainly Mississippi. We get 3 tags in Mississippi, and I've got a wife who loves to bow hunt, the kids who love to hunt. So we've got plenty of stuff to do right here. I'm here at home. If I can kill me one good one, I'm kind of like, okay, or a target deer. I've got one. His name is Barry. Y'all can guess why I got that name. But anyway, he's a giant 4-year-old. I videoed him with my phone the last day of hunting season with my little boy, and he was like, "Why can't we shoot him?" I was like, "Because he's made it. This is the last day of the season." And anyway, he was a 4-year-old last year, mainframe 10, and this is a giant for here now. He's probably mid-40s, broke half his beam, but he had 3 kickers on one G2, 2 on the other. And he's going to make it. He's got feed in his feeder right now, and he's got minerals out. So he ought to be growing. So I'll hunt Mississippi. That'll be, we're going to Colorado to Montrose in September, elk hunting. So super, always pumped about that. Missouri, we'll hunt bow and rifle in Iowa. And then my spot, I always go in Kansas, out there in southern Kansas, which is, it didn't always like this, but last year I killed a 183, and I saw the 191 first. He just didn't walk in first.
Yeah, well, heck of a decision where you got to pick between a 191 and a 183.
Funny quick story that everybody, me and Randy Birdsong, Headhunters TV, we were all out there, and he's like, we're looking at pictures. What you going to do if this one walks in? What you going to do if this one walks in? Just hypothetical. I'm like, I tell you, I'm going to make it real easy. First one comes in bow range, I'm shooting. End of story, and that's what happened. I did the same thing 2 times ago when I drew an Iowa tag. We were hunting in southern Iowa, somewhere around Leon over there. And anyway, it was 3 shooters came in the field, and my producer at the time from Wisconsin, Colton said, "Man, which one are you gonna shoot? Which one are you gonna shoot?" I said, "First one comes in range. We're gonna make it easy. Look, eager beats pretty. I'm ready to kill something."
It brings me to a story that I got to tell because I think it's one of the funniest ever. I was sitting in a seminar with Fred Eichler, right? Easton Bow Hunting, or I don't even know what his show is now, but Fred's awesome dude, and he actually hunts with a buddy of mine every time he draws Iowa. And he was sitting giving a seminar at the Iowa Deer Classic, Slade, and part of the video, and I don't even know what he was talking about, shot angles or something, but long story short, this deer walks in, and I'm telling you, this thing wasn't 100 inches, right? I mean, basically like a fork horn or something.
Yeah, I think it was a fork horn. I know the video.
And Fred crushes it, right? I mean, absolutely 10 rings the thing. And somebody in the crowd raised their hand and said, Fred, why in the world did you shoot that? And this, mind you, this is in Iowa. And he goes, well, it's real simple. He was 20 yards broadside. And he was dead serious. To each their own.
And look, I love big deer like everybody else, but listen, like last year, I killed a deer that was about 130 with my bow. His name was El Diablo. It's a deer I had pictures of for 2 years. He's 6 or 7 year old. We sent his teeth off. A big target buck for us. And when I killed that 183 this year, and he did not mean as much to me as that one I self-filmed 3.5 miles that way.
Sure.
Like, it's just, look, I've killed a lot of big deer, and I've been very successful, but I love bow hunting, man. Like, it doesn't, I just like doing it. And look, if we all go and camp and I come to Iowa and I shoot a 155 5-year-old y'all been passing the first day, and you shoot a 200, you're not going to be any happier than me. I'm going to be the happiest little redneck at camp. That's just who I am. It doesn't take a giant. Look, I married a trophy wife. I did that part. I'm good on shooting coals the rest of the time.
Oh, that's funny. That's so reminiscent of Chris Cobbett, Travis Homily. Like, everyone we run with thinks like that. I love it. But Slade, we're not going to take up much more of your time, dude. We greatly appreciate it. We're looking forward to seeing you guys, like I'd mentioned. Josh, thanks for jumping in and kind of filling in for Trav. Josh has a big hunt coming up, and I'm not going to spoil this one, Josh, because we're going to do a special podcast all about that hunt and you documenting it along the way. So look forward to that, listeners. But Slade, as always, good to see you, brother. You got anything in closing?
Man, go out and enjoy today. We all have very many things to be thankful for, and I tell my family every day, man, we are thank you, Lord, for letting us wake up and do what we do, because we all are blessed.
Amen. And if you haven't checked out Landman podcast or the show, get out there and hit it up. He's got some great information coming off that podcast.
Yeah, pretty much anything that any social media platform, anything like that, we're on there. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. My team has a Twitter. I don't use it, but they use it.
Well, and I'd stress it. If you're in real estate and they're not following you, they're nuts. But
Okay.
Just my opinion.
Well, thank y'all for having me on. Y'all have a blessed day.
Thanks, Slade. Take care, buddy.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Stand on Your Investment podcast, presented by UC Hunting Properties and Expedition Land Management.